We all feel this way sometimes, right? It makes no sense to me that imposter syndrome is not talked more in game dev, since it's something we face every single day. And it's not even a big of a deal, because there are simple, easy ways to cope with it, and now I'm going to show them to you. I've been in the game industry for almost 3 years now, and there hasn't been a single day in which I haven't felt a little bit of a fraud. And surely that didn't feel good, but it has given me quite a handful of techniques and exercises to identify the imposter syndrome, cope with it, and prevent it from happening again. That's why I'm making this video for you, because I don't want more developers to feel like they don't belong to an industry, which is already harsh enough, to make it even worse for ourselves. So if you ever feel like you don't belong here, I want you to know that you do, and in this video I want to help you to overcome those doubts. Alright, first thing first, what is exactly imposter syndrome? According to Neha Bharati, imposter syndrome is constantly feeling like you are not good enough, like you don't belong to your own success. I think the first time I came across this feeling was back in high school with a rather obnoxious math teacher who liked to really humiliate people in front of the class, which created a really strong insecurity in my math skills. That was a really heavy weight on my shoulders when I entered in the engineer career. And I find really interesting the science behind why we feel this way, because it's nothing more than a malfunction of the reward and punishment system of your body. When we humans do anything, our brains tell us if that was good or bad in the form of pain or pleasure. But the thing is, if you are really stressed out because of a bad teacher, a tight deadline, or just a jerky boss, this stress actually hijacks this system, making you unable to obtain pleasure for the things that are good for you, while also maintaining the pain you get from the things that are bad for you. This creates a really bad situation in which you cannot feel good for anything you do, and you always feel like you need to do more, making you feel like an imposter of your own life. And as you know very well, there is nothing more common in the gaming industry than stress. Crunch, layoffs, and that boss who thinks accessibility is a damn thing and you should never worry about it, all contribute to building this stress, which hijacks your reward and punishment system and makes you feel like an imposter. And the bright side of this situation is that we all developers feel this way, so I can tell you that you are not alone in this fight. Anywhere you look, you're gonna find people who feel like they're an imposter in their careers. Mike Bithell and Cortez Apple are some legends of the indie game industry which have stated repeated times that they feel like they don't belong in this industry. But you don't have to go that far to famous people. I have asked tons of my friends about their feelings on this matter, and they said things like, at uni I saw how others were progressing while I felt that I was stuck without understanding most of the things I was doing. Then working I started to understand things better, but I saw that I was making mistakes and at the slightest chance I could get fired for messing up. I have come to feel like I didn't deserve to be in this industry, and that my lack of experience or skill will make others see me as the newbie pretending to be a professional. Whenever I have to change technology, I feel like I'm not going to be able to cope. That, added to when someone criticizes your work without respect, and the lack of trainings and senior to ask, makes me feel that every year I'm getting rustier. These are just some of the testimonials I have gotten from my friends, and I can genuinely tell you that I always feel like an imposter, not only in my work but also in these videos. Right here I'm filming my very first English video wearing a bloody clown suit. If this is not imposter syndrome, I don't know what it is. But here's the thing, if you based all of your actions on these feelings, you're gonna get paralyzed and you're not going to do anything that you want. So I hope you want to fight this fight with all your strength. Acceptance is the very first step in any psychological recovery process, and as Dr. Sandy Mal tells Anne in her book, Why Do I Feel Like an Imposter?, the first step in beating imposter syndrome is recognizing that it exists and that you are not alone in feeling this way. So I want you to right now write in the comment down below how you exactly feel like an imposter and how you accept it in this moment in your life. I promise I will take a look at it. And while I think it's a really cool starting point to accept yourself, I want you to be aware of the context creep, a sociological phenomenon which appears in the last years, which make us label more things as a problem when they are not. So take care of labeling yourselves as an imposter if you are just having a bad week or you are simply a beginner. Obstacles which are much easier to overcome, but if you label them as a psychological problem, they might appear harder than they really are. Anyway, now that you have accepted the problem, we need to evaluate where we are right now and where we want to go. And there are two things I want you to focus on: your identity as a game developer and your values in your work. Regarding your identity, we want to find a balance between accepting that you feel this way and giving yourself arguments to make you feel like you are not an imposter. In the practice, Seth Godin tells us that if we are going to feel like an imposter, we better make good use of these feelings, meaning that we use them as fuel to improve every day. But of course we are not machines, we cannot work our asses off every single day. That's why a really cool technique to overcome these feelings is to keep track of all the praises you have been given throughout your career, be it a Google Doc document, an Awesome page, or simply a Gmail label, in which you store all the good things that people have said about your work, so that the day that you feel like you are an imposter, you can take a look at the evidence that you are not. But let me assure you that you are never going to feel 100% sure over your work, because the thing here is to shift the focus from perfection to progress, and to try to feel a little bit better every day, keeping in mind that you are never going to fully feel happy with your work, and that's totally fine. As you know, games are never finished, and the fight with imposter syndrome neither is. But that doesn't mean that we are not going to fight. And I think the key to progress a little bit every day in your work is to have a strong, solid professional values. These are the principles which guides everyday decisions in your work, and tell you if you are on the right track or not. The idea is that you stop trying to be perfect, and start trying to be better a little bit every day. Brent Brown says in The Gift of Imperfection that authenticity is the daily practice of letting go where we think we are supposed to be, and embracing who we are. I really like this idea because back in the day, when I started my first job as a game programmer, I felt so insecure about my programming skills, even if I had a career and previous experience in the engineering field. So I decided that instead of aiming to be perfect in my game programming skills, I will try to follow 3 principles. Always leave code better than I found it, always say things out loud and proposing new solutions, and that it's better to upload something imperfect than nothing at all. These 3 values guided my day-to-day life and allowed me to keep improving every day. And while I don't consider myself an expert programmer, I think I'm much better now than I was back then. Alright, let's face it, if we were the only workers in the world, we couldn't feel like an imposter because there were no one better than us. So this means that imposter syndromes come from comparing ourselves with other people. And I don't think comparisons are entirely a bad thing, but I do believe we need to approach it in the correct way. You cannot compare yourself with a person who has a different lifestyle than you, because even if they got a better result than you did, you two had a completely different path to get there. That's why I don't want you to compare results but processes. Let's take Stardew Valley for an example. If you only compare the result of this game, which is a massive masterpiece and a game that changed forever the indie industry, you can very easily find yourself thinking that your own indie game is no more than garbage. But if you take a step back and look at the process behind Stardew Valley, you can see a very dark development history and a person who gave all for his project, and yeah, he got a really good game in the process, but he almost lost his wife, his house, and all of his money, let alone his mental health. So if you take a look at your own development process, do you think it's worth all this pain for this project? Because you might reach a different conclusion. Or if you look at Team Cherry, a company which created one of the best video games in history, but they were only 3 people, and they did it in their spare time. Oh yeah, and they didn't even need publishing. Okay, I think it's legit to feel bad when you think about them. But let's not focus on Hollow Knight, okay? And if you feel like you are always comparing yourself with others, and you feel like everyone is watching you to see your mistakes, I want you to embrace the spotlight effect, in which humans think that they have a spotlight above them, which makes their work and their mistakes visible to everyone else, when in reality everyone else is just looking at their own spotlight. You just have to think about the last time you saw someone fall on the street. You might have taken a look at it when it happened, but probably 5 minutes later you have completely forgot about it. But I can assure you the person who felt terribly for the rest of the day, thinking that everyone else who saw it was thinking about how he felt, when in reality they didn't. But you know, we are human, we are imperfect. I know this is a lot to take in, so if you want an easier time starting your fight with imposter syndrome, you can start by simply stating in the comments below how you feel about this thing, or reaching out to me in Gmail or Twitter so we can talk a little bit more about your case. And if you don't want to talk about your feelings with a random ass guy on the internet, I left in the description a really cool game development mentor list, in which you can find people from all around the world who might help you with your situation. They surely helped me a lot. Thank you so much for your time and watching this video, and I wish you the best of luck in your fight with imposter syndrome. See you again very soon. Bye bye.